Well, guys, I am probably going to be going about 15 shades of red here in the next minute or two because I just had a total Homer Doe moment and scrambling and juggling so many different things. I couldn't figure out why my guests weren't in the studio, why nothing was working right. And I finally get it all rolling here to realize that I have gone out on the wrong show title today. And no, I'm sorry to confuse everybody. We do not have police officers in the house bringing abuses of power. That will be Thursday. So for if you're here by accident, I hope you do stick around. It's going to be something that's going to be even more exciting. So welcome back. What's up, Canada and beyond? If you're new here, I hope you give us smash that like and share and subscribe button. Find us wherever you're at. And our guest in the background here must be the eclipse. I'm going to run with that. Thank you for that exit stage left. I'm going to run with that excuse for the rest of the night. But tonight's going to be something that really encourages me. I've been, digging through everything that people could possibly do for years now. And I get special inspiration and hope when I see Canadians that are stepping up and in the spirit of doing what's right and not what's easy, helping fellow Canadians, the spirit of Canada. People are creating tools and optimism and hope. And I knew when we first started down this journey of Trudeau 2.0 that it was going to be a long adventure before we got our ducks in a row and were able to get things together to effectively get our voices back in the universe, I guess. So tonight we've got Randy and Kareen. I am so sorry, guys. I now understand why I couldn't see you in the studio and everything else. And it's literally, I've been juggling 4 shows, getting 4 shows, 5 shows ready in the last 12 hours. So forgive me all. We made it here, thankfully. It's kind of thrown me off a little bit. And Kareen, thank you for that excuse. I'm blaming it on the moon too. I thought things were going far too well over the last 24 hours for me. That's just not normal, right? The universe has at least got to kick me in the shins once or twice a day, but the last couple had been so outstanding it was inevitable. So I get to own everybody's confusion today and probably on Thursday again as well. But I want to give you guys out there a minute or two here to get to know Randy and Kareen a little bit. I take for granted sometimes when I see folks like you two in some of these leadership meetings, steering committee meetings, the Freedom Rising meetings, and going on a couple of years now. And then, there's an opportunity to come get together in a place like this, and I introduce you to my community. Sometimes it's a little hard not to take for granted that I know you guys, and I kind of, a little bit, or I feel like I do. But the people out there that aren't familiar with you guys, I want them to understand a little bit of who you guys are, where you come from, and ultimately that'll kind of lead them into understanding and helping us get to where we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff, but that we're kind of all in the same boats together. So Randy, start with you. Why not? You're the easiest. You're right beside me here.
Sure. Sounds good, Wayne. We were waiting in the back room and we did a Freedom of Information request right away, and we knew what you were up against. So trying to get in the show. It's all good. But yeah, a little bit about my background. A corporate guy for 25 years with big utility and working in business design and kind of getting exposed to working with people like Arthur Anderson, Accenture, SAP, a little bit of tech background plus operational background, and 10 years with my own business and 10 years as an elected guy on a regional district in the Thompson-Nicola Regional District in the central interior of British Columbia. So a couple of years as the CEO there of the board. And so some experience on the other side. I've had to hand over my emails to the F.O.I.A request, probably to Corinne, I think, back in that day. But the reality is that, open access to information is so important. So, I've learned a lot on both sides. And so that my toes in the sand retirement turned into an adventure in the last 3 years of building things with great people like Corinne. So we're asked often, where does all the money come from to make this happen? Hey, I got news for everybody. It's a lot of us gray hairs and young people who care, and we're all out here and we're building stuff, to try and save the country and help each other for the future. So that's me. Thanks, Wayne.
Before I let unleash you, Corinne, I just want to kind of unpack a few of those things that you mentioned there, Randy. You're a guy that you've worn all the hats from elected office to corporate success, and at the end of the day, none of that really is why you're here. It's why you have the skill sets and the tools to identify and work towards creating solution. And at the end of the day, you're kind of just one of us. You didn't ask to be here, but you found yourself among some of the most elite company and amazing Canadians that we have, stepping up for the same thing, like Corinne, and leading people to, hope and opportunity and, tools. I'm all about the tools. When I first started in all of this, I mean, I'm just an average, ordinary guy too. But what I wanted to do was be a force multiplier, and that's what you guys have come together and created. And that's what I hope people get out of this here when you guys see what we're going to unleash here in a few minutes after we get to know Corinne a little bit out there for everybody else.
Well, Wayne, I would just add also that it's that and 3 grandkids, right? That's what gets you
That's
here.
some pretty huge motivation.
Right? What are we leaving for those folks?
Yeah.
True story.
And I actually think that Randy is very modest because the technology knowledge that he has been incredible. So he's a huge resource, I think, for our movement for sure.
Well, checks in the mail, Corinne.
Yeah. Okay.
That's pretty, that should carry some weight out there when, behind you, we see so many credentials and achievements as well. So I'm very humbled by both of you guys. I got no business being in this room talking with either of you guys, to be honest, but so tell us a little bit, Corinne, about you. Yeah.
Oh, that is a show all by itself, Wayne. So if you were to do a search of my name, the very first thing that would pop up is the fact that I was involved in a court case against the provincial government, the BC provincial government, for the mandate for a public servant in BC. So that's something that I will have to live with for the rest of my life. I was a ministry privacy officer for the Ministry of Attorney General and Public Safety and Solicitor. So that's basically 1/3 of the BC government. I was responsible to supporting all of their programs, organizations. So that includes things like Emergency Management BC, Road Safety BC, BC Corrections, Liquor and Licensing branch, cannabis branch, coroners services, court services. It really has like a whole slew of different organization, and my responsibilities was to ensure and support them in making sure that they met their requirement under the Freedom of Information and Privacy Act of British Columbia, which is basically the legislation that tells them what they can or cannot do with personal information, but also in terms of people making access requests. So what we call freedom of information requests, or sometimes we'll use the word FOI. And then in the midst of that, I was also getting a whole slew of different privacy certification with the International Privacy Professionals, International Association of Privacy Professional. So I have over 15 years of experience in the world of individual trying to get access to government's information. And I'm also very much involved in terms of ensuring that, government as a whole was managing the personal information of citizens of BC in a way that made sense and was abiding by the laws that we have in place. So it was a very interesting place to be, because when everything changed, I found myself questioning the ability for the collection of information that we saw. And I'm not a legal counsel, but I worked in that environment so much and I knew these laws so well that I really had enough to question what was going on and why things were done a certain way. And so this is kind of like my background. So why I'm involved in this particular project, because I have that expertise and knowledge. And what we're really trying to do is to support individual across not just BC, but Canada in being able to make requests and maybe even like make complaints with commissioners, and knowing that they have a resource that they can go to help them kind of navigate that. But the reason why I'm in this movement particularly is I had a child that had a reaction to a vaccine at a very, very early age. And I became aware of Vaccine Choice Canada. I never really got engaged that much with them, but they just became a resource for me to kind of navigate, the school environment. And when in 2021, the university at which he was in started asking him to get tested and whatnot, I reached back to Vaccine Choice Canada and then got bamboozled in becoming the representative for the South Island. And that's how I became involved specifically. And then after that, I got mandated. But the first step was really about my child getting, having question be asked at school and requiring them to have masks and all these different things. And me just really questioning why they had the ability to collect that information. And, so then there was other things
so many
like
questions already.
I'm sorry?
I have so many questions already.
I know, right? and just so you know, I'm a big believer in natural immunity, and we got sick in Christmas of 2019, and I knew it wasn't the flu. It was completely different as a family. And when we, fast forward to March, we knew what it was. So we weren't concerned about the vaccine because we thought, this is like chickenpox. You have it, then you don't need to worry about vaccine. And so, that's kind of the realm, or in a very succinct way, how I got involved in this.
Well, kind of to rewind there a little bit to kind of plug it in. When you started asking questions, were things kind of were things started to run out of alignment before you started asking questions, before all of this? Had you noticed a shift in the direction of the system? I'm just curious about this because I realized really early on that this was a war on the freedom of the people through informed consent. That was the first well that they poisoned and went after. So for me, it was a little bit different, in my lifestyle and what I do for a living. Did you have any inkling early on before that?
No. I mean, there's some things that you question along the line, like why was there a push for cannabis to become legal, right? It was like 2 years of my life that were absolutely insane, right? Because there were so many new programs that were being initiated and needed to be assessed from a privacy perspective. And, looking back, I'm like, so there's things that are starting to make sense. Like I was very, very much involved in all the implications around the BC Services Card being moved along for all these new programs. Because originally the BC Services Card was just your health card. And then it was just only like, like your license, right? Your driver's license. Mm-hmm. And then that same card started being utilized for different programs. And I was involved in making sure that this was done in a way that met the privacy legislation. And it was always in the context of, well, we want to make it easier for users instead of having to fill out all this paperwork. And I honestly believe that. Like I thought this was a good thing. But now, if you start thinking about potential
when you hear what happened in Nova Scotia today, it must really make you cringe.
Well, and that's the thing, right? It's all that digital context and how you can basically amalgamate all these things together. I think for me, when they started saying, oh, well, we're going to use the BC Services Card as your, link with your vaccine status, and you'll be able to show it. Like, that's when you start going, oh, wait a second. Like something is
Right.
wrong. This was not, in my mind, what the intent of this technology was.
And
But did I have an inkling before that? No, I think I was naive, to be honest. Like I speak to people that were awake like 20 years ago, and I feel like I just want to, like how? Like
I empathize with you. I unfortunately have been one of those people that have distrusted our government for things that I've known and experienced going back to my youth. So I completely understand how that has happened, and I'm grateful for what you bring to the table now that you have become aware. And these are some of the stories that inspire me, because I know our army of truth and and the people that are fighting for the future is growing. Theirs isn't. Right. So that's absolutely amazing. And so then now this would have been a natural gravitation to you for this particular project. I'm going to bring this up here now. We're going to dive into some of the meat and potatoes of why I wanted you guys on here tonight. It's about this project called the Freedom of Information Library. Take us through a little bit of this, and then I think Randy, you've got a presentation or a walkthrough for folks. And for people that have been following me since the beginning of What's Up Canada, I've always maintained that I'm not one to tell anybody what to do, but to be here to sharpen people's arrows, help them polish up the tools, the toolboxes, and be a bullhorn for people. And I knew that it was going to take some time, but you guys have created a significant tool here that, for all of the people out there that are fighting across this country, this needs to be your second home.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
Randy,
thanks.
do you want me to just start by just giving sort of like a high level overview of what BC Rising, the FOI group?
No,
is
I want to
fighting?
do it. No, you go ahead, Corinne. We're type A personalities, Wayne. We really can handle this. So, Corinne, go for it.
Okay, so in the midst of like participating in different group, one of the things that we realized pretty early on is that people had a lot of questions. They had a lot of questions, a lot of things didn't make sense, and people were doing FOI requests. People that never had any inkling of what an FOI request was, or what they also call an ATIP request, which is asking for information from the federal government. It's a different process and it has a different name for it, but it's the same concept. And so we came very early on. I realized that different groups were doing the same request, asking for the same information. There was a lot of duplication of work. And we thought, okay, well, obviously what we need to do is try to find a way to stop those silos and have some level of communication so that people knew, not just have resources to do those FOI requests, have training to do these things, but also to know what other groups were doing and the information that was already collected, where they could actually get access to this information. So BC Rising, in the context of trying to focus on BC, decided to do an FOI group. And this is where, in some ways, the Freedom of Information Library stemmed from. But the intent was really to focus on BC. And then what we realized pretty quickly was that the need for this was national. And there's kind of like three different things. Is one, we need to have a place that everyone can communicate to each other, to support each other and know what kind of requests are out there. Two is we need a place to store all this stuff so that everyone can have access to. And three, we need to communicate it to alternative media, for lawyers that have court cases, and really for the information to go outside to the greater public. So that's kind of the idea behind this. And then Randy was incredible enough to create this particular system, to which I will let him speak to.
Thanks, Corinne. Yeah, you've nailed it for sure. That was the genesis of the whole thing, Wayne. Is that a bunch of us came together and we were working in different areas and had different ideas about how to deal with what we're looking at. And Corinne's background is so pivotal in all of this, to know what it's like on the inside. And then for me with government, working in the regional district, I early on came up against lobbies in the biosolids industry and fighting against 90,000 chemicals going down our drains and being spread out into the farmlands and forests as fertilizer, and that's not, it's got full of pharmaceuticals and everything. So I kind of hit that wall a while ago, and I realized that, this is a big, big game, as George Carlin said, and you aren't in it. And the reality is that, I could see the value of finding out. And that was my goal all along, was finding out. So when we started talking about this library, and it just morphed and grew into, okay, this is going to be national, this has got to be big. Let's do some planning around how we can create categories of interest that other people, as Corinne said, the ATIPs and the OPQs and the Freedom of Information requests. There's a lot of people. We just couldn't believe how many people were involved. So when you look at the intent of what this is about, as you mentioned, it's open access. We need to be able to share and to synergize with legal. Well, I guess you'd say the strategy was public, it was legal, it was medical, it was all of those things, media, researchers, people who are really keen on finding the truth. And so how do we facilitate that and become partners in it? So that strategy evolved into kind of where we're at today. And before we talk about the library a little bit, maybe I'll just mention that it's growing right now, isn't it, Corinne? We're in talks right now with the Canadian Citizens Care Alliance. They've got a massive amount of information that they're looking for a home for. And 3 weeks ago, I had an absolutely amazing conversation with the assistant law professor at TRU, who started the open source library, Matt Malone. And Matt, I don't know if you're aware or if your audience is aware, but I'll just get that up in front of me here. Yeah, Matt, he's the guy that just brought the RCMP report that was generated for the whole of government report for Canada, that basically says if Canadians knew what financial distress we were in, there would be riots in the street. And Matt is responsible for uncovering that secret report that was hidden. So you talk about the power to inform, this is where we're heading. We're talking about how do we come together as a nation? How do we find the truth? How do we peel back the onion and really get this into the hands of people for empowerment to make proper decisions going forward? So encapsulate it. That's kind of where I'm coming from on this.
I have to jump in there for a couple of seconds on a few things there, and this is where it's so key for people. People are always trying to dismiss you, saying, where is the proof? Where is the evidence? Where is the proof? Where is the evidence? Here you guys have got a library that is exploding with exactly that. Where's the evidence? There's mountains and mountains of evidence here. And I gotta admit, I was one of those people stumbling around for two years. How do I do a freedom of information? And before I would get that answered, somebody else I'd realize had done it. So I started to see so many of those things too. And we're at a point here now where cases are being filed. The truth is coming out. This information is going to be more critical than ever to be in the public space, so people can take the steps that they need to. And the one other point that I wanted to make on that you had mentioned, Randy, I've finally been able to articulate something that I think is key here. And at the end of the day, bottom line, we're against globalism. That is what we're up against. Everything is about the globalism. And ultimately, the cure for globalism is localism. And it is 100% safe and effective. And this is where these freedom of information skills can help people figure out, once they see it happening anywhere else in the country, you can bet your peanut butter sandwich that it's happening in your community or municipality as well. So this isn't just about. I mean, it may have started with the scamdemic, plandemic, whatever you want to call it. But this is, I think, a resource that covers all spectrums because they are all interconnected.
Yeah, absolutely critical point, Wayne. And our library isn't hugely populated yet. If you look at the back end, we've got gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes of information to put in there. But we aren't like $1 million operation. We're just getting rolling. but we are
Yeah.
gathering that interest now, and it's pretty phenomenal to see. And some of the FOIs that we have in there now are about 50-minute cities. There's some about climate questions. There's lots about COVID and other. And there's a great one that maybe Corinne, would this be a good time to talk about the really cool one that came out of Nova Scotia? Wow. Or New
Yeah, so
Brunswick or Nova
we've been,
Scotia?
so it's interesting that you're making reference to municipal, relationship and information that needs to be uncovered, because I personally help people do FOI that were provincial wide, and I've helped people do FOI or manage to gather information, because really I think it's important for people to know that FOI requests should be your very last line of defense to get information. You should really try to get information in every possible way before you get there. The whole premise or the spirit of that legislation was like, if you really cannot get this information out of a local government or any kind of government entity, then you have this legislation that you can fall upon. But I've been helping groups that were really just getting information from the municipal council. And then we've helped recently a group that was like basically ask for all the contract related to COVID. So it had everything to do with the vaccinations, the testing, everything. And they got a very large request, which is now in our library. But they had a lot of
federal ATIP, Corinne?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's what we call. It's not an FOI request because it's federal, so it's called an ATIP. But really, at the end of the day, they got like thousands of pages, and we helped them make a complaint to the commissioner to ask for some of the information to not be redacted. So for them to review everything and identify whether those redaction or severing, depending on how you redlining. There's all kinds of words, but basically the words that are not available or not presented or taken out of the text.
Hiding.
Yeah, hiding, exactly. Whether it's possible to get more information out of the document. So, those are some of the things that we do. And, I think this is where, like you said, you said I spent 2 years struggling, and I feel bad because part of me is thinking, well, maybe instead of doing the 5,000 protests, I should have been helping people doing FOI requests instead.
Well,
but it is what it is at this point.
Yeah.
And this was I was part of another organization that was, there was so many people looking for so much information across the board that we kind of became that filter and funnel in every capacity we could. But for us, it was exactly that. We had run into the roadblocks, the stonewalling, the bureaucratic intervention, all the police and all of those things, to the point where we had exhausted all efforts. And what is that last line of information when we know we've got so much evidence that demands a response and an answer, that and this was where one of the major victories that they had over us is our ability to access information, which is still being hindered more and more every single day. But at the end of the day, there's more than one way, excuse this old euphemism, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. These guys, there's so many people doing so many things that they're so interconnected through so many different offices that are so ill, shall we say, that there's we're having this ability now through work like this to access undeniable facts, which at this point, I think so many people know that things are broken, but they're not confident in how to make the argument or how to make this, stop whatever's going on, make the change, those kinds of things. They know something's broken, but where do they get, the accurate thing to stand up for themselves?
Yeah, and Wayne, I think where I'm seeing where it's all coming together now is, we've got, like in British Columbia right now, we've got BC Town Halls 2024 up and running, and there's 4 complete, 5 in the works, and pretty near 32 communities in British Columbia that are bringing town halls to talk about the issues, not the politics, but the issues. What does it really mean to people on the ground? And so getting data and truth out is important. And those are kind of partnerships that are forming. There are other provinces now that are asking, how can we do that? And then there you go. That's beautiful. And then in addition to that, the other night I was on a Zoom with Maggie Braun and Gather 2030 and that team, and David Solomon on there connected, and we're sharing municipal information about contact and how that plugs into another issue I'm working with, which is the Foundational Principles Pledge. So, there all of these synergies, and these people across Canada are starting to network in a way like never before. Yeah, that's just
and don't worry, guys. Yes, I will drop all of the links into the chat. I've got the wrong show notes up here, so I am scrambling through all of this.
Sorry, Wayne. I should have
this
told you 6 weeks ago and told you we'd do this. But
this is so funny because I mean, in 5 years of doing this is the first time that I have ever gone live with the wrong show. I mean, of all the things that I have messed up before, this is the first. So,
well, the worst things are the best things. This is the way it works. We're good. So I think I'm just saying that the combination of things are important, and the sharing of data and information, and this is foundational. So when you'd like, anytime you're ready, I can give a little demo so people can see how they could use our site. And Corinne, I think you were thinking something there first. So
yeah, I was just going to say, you're talking about connecting people, and I think one of the other things that we're really, really mindful about is to try to mitigate those silos. And so what we've developed is a chat where everybody in every group that is responsible, or is sort of like that one person that everybody goes to for any kind of information, we want these people to reach out to us and gather them all in one chat. I don't want to do a monthly Zoom call or Jitsi, or I think people are so over visual meeting. There are just too many of them. And but I think there's value in having a chat saying, hey, I'm working on this, wondering if anybody else is working on that too. Because obviously what we have in the library is completed information requests, right? But there's lots of people that are currently working on things, and maybe they're considering working on things. And we want to be able to just really kind of be strategic on how we approach this, because we all know we have limited human resources, limited time. So if we can mitigate that and have like sort of a centralized place where everybody can kind of reach out and say, and it's also an opportunity for them to reach out to me and say, hey, I'm struggling with something. And then you can have a call that speaks specifically to that and how to step-by-step work through whatever their challenge are, right? But I think there's value in everyone kind of supporting each other and having that communication between the groups.
And that again becomes the force multiplier. But in all honesty, in reality, that was never going to be a factor, or never going to be able to be a factor, even until people had created some things, done some things, had some victories, created some communities, established themselves, and quite honestly, it has been kind of like the wild west out there for the last 5 years, right? So people that are now starting to put together their own avenues, they're owning their own territory, they're gaining strength and confidence in what they're doing. These are the things now that need and can so easily be duplicated across the country. I had Maggie on here I think 2 weeks ago as well, and exactly as that, the language that you're seeing with whoever is in your grill right now, wherever you are, is the same language. It's coming from the same place, and there's an antidote to it. So that's where all of these things, where I have, as gloomy as it might be, guys, we survived the eclipse. Now we can get back to work. We don't need to be in the doom loop anymore. Here's a fresh box of tools, everybody.
Yeah. So Wayne, where you're talking about Maggie, you're talking about Maggie Brown?
Yeah.
No. And that's one of the things that she talks about, is about individual going to their council and finding certain things, finding information to know where they're at and what they're doing. And this is where, having the tools to figure out how to engage with these entities and these local government and get that information. And that really comes back down to, how we can support them. And also to be, once you know what one group has done, like once you know what Kelowna is doing, then you basically have a map for what you're doing. So for example, I
100%.
live in a small community,
It's about the patterns. Everyone
and they
has the
just
same
changed.
thing.
Exactly. And they're behind everybody else. So I know what their plan is. So now I have that tool. I have an advantage because I actually know what they're going to do. Right. But if you don't engage and you don't communicate and you don't know that information,
Right.
it's because someone came up and said, I digged, I found that information. And now I can say, hey, I looked around my communities and the communities around my community, and it's all similar. So we know what the plan is. Now, all you have to do is go to your community and find out where they're at in that plan. And now you can move forward. So this is where the information is so unbelievably important.
I have so much energy going through me here right now because of exactly this. This is, establishing the patterns.
Yeah.
We've done this here through the medical system. We showed people the patterns. Through the justice system, we've established the patterns. Now through the municipal system, people, and it's people all over the place that are establishing the patterns. And this is why they're so mortally afraid of us having conversations like this. That the Geneva gang had to put the whole world business on hold for two subjects. We don't trust them anymore, and they need to shut us up. Right? So, I mean, this to me is exciting times because that tells us.
Wait, are you saying that you're on the blacklist somewhere?
Karine, I am on every list. I'll put it to you this way. I attended an event where Trudeau was at, and before I even got anywhere close, I had two goons with earplugs in, standing in front of me, and no matter which direction I turned, that's where the goons were. So I'm very well known. Welcome to the community. This platform is kind of a barometer for them to go, oh shit, what's he talking about now? So they're and it's
Wait,
partly
you
because
can't
we
be
have
telling them what our
community.
plans are, though, Wayne.
But this is the
Yeah.
thing is that is unstoppable is because we don't have an audience, we have a community, and that makes all of the difference in the world. Right? I'm so proud of the people that are out here. I don't have to go and tell them what to do. All we have to do is give them the instruction manual, give them the tool, and they're a brilliant bunch of people out there, and it's not just in Canada, right? So, and this is where I think that we underestimate the resolve and the awareness of the silent majority. And they're silent because they're smart, and nothing has really, until something comes along that is worth taking the risk or the energy, or stepping up from cover for. There has been so much noise in the wild west, that it's again comes back down to show me something that is going to bear some fruit, and I'm interested. And that's I think where we're finally at a point here now in Canada where we've got a lot of groups and a lot of people that have a lot to offer when it comes to resisting this. And just basic understanding goes a long way with all of it. And we've been lied to and denied to and gaslit and astroturfed for a very long time. But yeah,
Well, that's what our job is now, Wayne. Our job is, not to be banned anymore, not to be hidden and pushed aside. Our job is to uncover the truth, create new community. And you've heard it said so many times that the truth doesn't need defending. The truth defends itself. And so what we're doing is unleashing the truth. And when that gets out to people, it's no longer opinion. It's no longer just your opinion versus mine in a coffee shop. It's look at this. What do you think of that? And when we get to that stage, now we're going to have people that'll come out of that movable middle of 50 to 60% of Canadians and go, okay, that's enough of this. Let's straighten this country out. And we're waiting for that day.
Well, there's kind of a running joke, it used to be 2 years between conspiracy theory and conspiracy fact. I think, and then it was down to about 2 weeks now, and then 24 hours. Now, I think it's, nothing confirms a conspiracy faster than an official denial before we've even had a chance to come up with the theory, anymore.
And I'm watching them whip by me now.
Right? I think somebody had something pulled up there, and I didn't see it come up. But
yeah, I'll pull it back up, and we can have a quick look here. I know we've only got so much time, but the reality is it'll be nice to have just a quick look at the website. Just let me know when I'm good to go there, Wayne.
You should be good there.
Okay.
And it's for you folks out there to kind of get a feel of how to start making this work.
Okay. Yeah, when you get into the library proper, you can see that the very first thing you see is this big green thing that says Take Canada's Critical Issues Survey. Well, Vince Gersey and his partner were trying to decide what are the most important things that we need to take care of in Canada. Well, you can go right on there. It's on several sites, but definitely go to the Freedom of Information site and click on that and have your say. And I'll show you what that produces in a minute. But the library itself, when you go in there, you can click on an introduction. And it's very simple there. There's a little audio and a PowerPoint, and it tells you what we're about. And we've done that already, so I won't go into that. We have had meetings and support. It's been tough with all of our schedules to keep up with that, and they're kind of in abeyance right now. But Corinne, as she said, is doing a one-on-one for anybody who needs it right now. So that's taking the place of the meetings. And we have links and partners in here. I'll show that one just briefly. And does that just automatically go to the next page on screen?
It does.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, the links you can see there, we don't have every province, but we do have request FOIs in Ontario, Nova Scotia, and then on the right-hand side, BC and Alberta. You can go into the open data sources there, or you can go right into the Canadian government, search open government or request and access information through Service Canada. So we have that on there, and a few folks down below that are interested, we know they're on side, and some places you can go to. Like sometimes the big one has been the BC College of Physicians and Surgeons and requesting FOIs in BC. So we're building this out as we go. And the most important part, I think, is the educational modules. Corinne has done a fantastic job on the FOI requests. It's a FOI 101 and how to submit requests. There's a 45-minute long video in there that gives just an absolutely great presentation on what you need to do. And I think we're moving towards making it more applicable to other provinces as well as we go. But right now, it gives you what you need to know. You can listen to it while you're driving your car. You can look at the PowerPoint presentation, and there's some guidelines in there too as to how you go about informing yourself. And of course, inside right now, we have a library. So we've got an internal storage area. We've got a library front face, and we are always looking for help and support. And so we do have some positions in there that are they're volunteer, of course, but there's somebody to help with the hard drive. There's people looking at reviewing and managing documents. And then as you scroll down, there's an editor for the library. And so far, those of us who are volunteering, we've been doing the best we can to put it together. But if anyone has an interest or they're interested in getting involved with the library, and I think, Corinne, this is what we talked about too, wasn't it? That as folks kind of come on board with other agencies and they're interested in talking about it, go right to the far right-hand side. This is going to be our one-stop point of contact. So you can click on that. It's a very simple help out, fill out a form application that says you're interested in what's going on in the library. You got a little time to help, and then we can get back to you right from there. So that's ideal. So internally,
same thing. Sorry to interrupt you, Randy, but same thing if individual are part of a group and they're responsible for doing any kind of request for information and they would like to be part of our chat, to use that form to let us know and we'll contact you.
Perfect. So then what can you do as a user right now? Well, you probably are interested in something. So you go to the search component right here and you can search our library, what we've got in there so far. This is the open by default connection to the Thompson Rivers University open by default library in Kamloops. 2.7 million pages in there, but the records are in the millions behind. They have a little bit of a paywall for people who are willing to pay, but they do have an open source part, and that's there. And I don't know if anybody is really aware, but for 2 years, the Globe and Mail did Secret Canada, and they compiled over 300,000 records. So there's a lot of historical information you can window into right there. It's a searchable database. Or you can go to the federal government, and I went there today to pull it up to see if I could dig in and find out, and it wouldn't let me in, and I realized they changed the link, but they didn't put a hot link on, so it automatically took you here. So you got to dig, you got to look for it, but it's all there. And, there's also the BC government FOIs, in addition to the ones that I showed you on the library links tab. So that's kind of what you can do. So if you go into our library and you search, there's a little bit of a sort of category select if you want. But simply, if you just click search without touching anything, you'll get everything that's in the library so far. And as you scroll down, you'll see there's a library reference number, there's an agency number. So they have given these numbers here. You'll find at the tag end of all of these are really specific to certain ministries and departments. And this is just, let me put it this way, it's a very, very cursory look, so you can tell what it's about. And then, of course, up above, you could sort by category, or you could sort by status. You know, what status, has it been closed? Is it all over? Or is it just something that's been filed? Is it provincial? Or is it, if an agency requests, that's all of Canada, provincial governments appropriate? There might be maybe 2 or 3 provincial governments that have the same request in, and we can do that. And then there's also keywords, and that's building as we go. You can search by keyword. So within that structure, these are just little boxes that window you in. So say you're interested in this one, for instance, and it's a little more you want to see, you can click on details. It'll take you to a detail page. And that detail page gives you even more information about what's going on. This one was an emails between Adrian Dix, Minister of Health in BC, and Bonnie Henry. And we're trying to find out what was going on within their communication flow during COVID. Whoever was doing that, I think Lindsay out of our Southern Interior group, got 2,338 pages of emails. Unbelievable. So, you know, this is the kind of stuff that we're kind of getting to the point where we can categorize it. And what we're doing right now as we work with these, like I said, the Canadian Citizens Alliance is thinking about making it more of a direct open library, because these 2 windows I just showed you are very, very superficial. Inside the library are all the documents. So we may be opening that up soon. We're in discussions about how that might work right now. And the other part of this that's really cool is a registered users section. So if you're a registered user, you can actually become a registered user, and it tells you basically right here what the benefits are and why you should be. But what it does is that if you fill this out and become a registered user, it lets anyone who is interested, whether you're a legal firm or you're an organization or whatever you represent, or maybe just yourself, you can put your own FOIs into the library. And when you do that, then you know, one person can put in 5,000 FOIs or information requests in 2 years, but 5,000 people can put in 100,000 of them in probably a month. So that's the philosophy behind it. We're trying to get out to that point.
So are you talking about adding theirs into the library, or making requests?
Adding ones they've already done, Wayne, is good point. And so if it's done and they've got all the data, then they can go in, and when they want to enter a request, I think I'd have to step out of this to see it properly, but I'll just click on this. It'll show you this. Oh, no, I can't because I didn't sign in. But what it does is let you fill out everything. It gives you an automatic library number, and you just enter all the fields. So pretty straightforward. And then if you have all of your files, you can label a file folder, and there's instruction in our library how to do it. You can drop it right into this library Dropbox right here. And by dropping it in right there, it goes directly to the library. So we've kind of built the back end of this thing to make it functional. And we also have an ideas bank. So as Corinne said, lots of people have ideas about what's going on. And you can click on this and see all you have is an idea. Well, log it. It'll give it a number. It'll let then people who are in this library system look at it, because not only is there an entry, there's a search capacity. So you could go in here and search, and it'll bring up the library entries that are searched. And these are what people are thinking. They're saying, well, why don't we do a climate change search and ask what is the data used to define that we are in a climate crisis in the first place? Okay, well, that's one suggestion. There's other health and other suggestions. So anybody with an idea can drop it in here, and that's how we can synergize as well. So I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'll just quickly say, we've created something kind of cool, and every Friday on Freedom Rising, we do a nugget. And so as we're finding nuggets of information, we're putting those bright, shiny glints of truth right here. And this is the one that Corinne mentioned, digging for the contracts with the government of Canada regarding Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna. So when we strike gold, everybody, you'll find it right here, and that could be yours. If you're willing to join our library crew and get going, dig for the truth, be a miner, you could be right there. And the last thing I'll show on this, Wayne, is, I mentioned in the beginning, Take Canada's Critical Issues Survey. Right now, it's open to the whole nation. And it's a bit counterintuitive when you look at it right now, but the shortest bar is closest to number one pick overall. And you can see number one for people across Canada right now is government overreach. Number two, freedom of speech. And down it goes on the list. So I will just show you, basically, we've got a little descriptor there. It shows who's filling it out the most so far, but it's just only, I think, 2 weeks old, and it's just amazing how many people are filling this out. So we encourage everybody to do that and look forward to it. So yeah, that's what we've built so far, and that's what it looks like when you're at the homepage. And consider being a registered user and using the search and getting involved, and let's peel back the onion together, and let's make this really into something that is powerful and available for everyone in Canada. Thanks, Wayne.
I feel like a kid in a candy store right now. Honestly, guys, I do. I've got ideas. I've got requests, and I've got information that I need. There's more in there. I know that I can now go and get. If you send me your nugget of the week, I'll make that a press release and I'll put that out to my community. How's that for an idea?
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'm writing it down right now. Wayne said, okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
There's two different things that I would add. Is number one, it's currently free to be a user. So I just want, because I think people may ask that question. Yeah. And number two is they may say, well, there's all these government entity that have like open government and all their requests are already there. So why would I utilize a library? And we have created, and when I say we, I'm using the royal we because it's really Randy that's created it. But he's created in a way that it's a lot easier to find things. It's searchable, it's OCR, because right now, if you go on OpenBC, for example, you're only can find very limited information in time, and you have to read like thousands of pages. So the idea here is that you can search for one particular topic that you're interested in, and the FOI will just show up and you can just start looking into them. So it's a lot more user-friendly. Let's put it this way.
And we have 3 different tech groups coming together right now to look at how we make that absolutely open and searchable. And so that's going to be amazing. And Corinne, I think, the other point that you started touching on there was that as agencies and governments start to archive all of this information, it then becomes more difficult to find and tougher to dig out. And so how tough are they going to make it? And what are we going to lose in the process? So we're thinking we can safeguard against that for the future. And so when somebody says, I didn't say that, we can say, well, actually, we know it's true. Here it is.
I think if they only archive it, that's the the least of our concerns. Yeah. They're notoriously interested in destroying the evidence, as in the Picton case in British Columbia, before people have actually gotten answers. And there is no way on earth the people have got the truth behind that. I mean, that's just one example. Nova Scotia's got their own situation like that. So there's so many things, and I think this is one of those things that should have them quaking in their boots, because they think that all Canadians are absolutely intellectually bankrupt and dumb as stones, and we are not. And there is a lot of people that are looking for exactly what this can do for them. And I'm really excited about seeing this growing eastward, as there's so many opportunities for people to make an impact. They just don't have enough information. Well, they can see some of it already, and really expedite their ability to get answers that they need elsewhere. So fantastic, absolutely fantastic, guys. I'll be using your site plenty. This seems to be Freedom of Information Week. My guests who aren't here, that but we'll be here Thursday. Kind of the same thing. They're able to make a huge impact because of a freedom of information request, and show the people what the Edmonton Police Services
Yeah.
has done. So that's just a resounding endorsement of the necessity for what you guys are doing and providing to everybody. So. Countless thanks for having the fortitude and the strength, Kareen, to stick it out, and Randy for always having such a optimistic outlook on it. I absolutely love that you guys are absolutely amazing people. So everybody get on board with this out there if you're paying attention,
Well,
and share.
yeah, thank you so much, Wayne, for inviting us and getting us the opportunity to communicate this information outwardly. And thank you also for being one of those source of a resource for everyone to share this information, because it's one thing for everyone to work together to make these FOI requests and gather the information, but we need people like you to sort of put it out there. So thank you so much for what you do.
It's
Yeah.
that wild west thing. It's kind of everywhere, and it's we're as bad for it in the conservative minded community out there, and it's hard to not get caught up in a lot of the noise out there, and that's something that I kind of had to take a step back here myself even a while ago. And am I being effective, or am I just being an addition to that new noise out there? And I didn't want to really do that. So for me, people that have been supporters of this platform for a long time, they know we do things for a reason and not just for the sake of doing it. And it's always an honor and a pleasure getting to speak and get to meet some amazing Canadians doing amazing things. That's where the interest is to me. So very, very, very proud of being able to give you guys this space and time. And if there's amazing stuff, I'm your Huckleberry.
Looking forward to it, Wayne. And don't forget, what they say. It's not how many times you get knocked down; it's how many times you get back up. And that's why we're looking at you right now, because you're still standing. So thanks for everything you do.
But my whole life, I think, Randy, and you've probably felt this way too, has been a training ground for right here and right now. And I got the opportunity to work with elite level Muay Thai and world champion boxers and pro athletes for a number of years. And the thing that I learned is world champions aren't made by skill and talent. The world
Right.
champions are the guys that got up even when they can't.
Yeah.
That's how champions are made. So it's a personal decision, and we can lay down and or put our heads in the sand, or we can go here, hold my beer, and that's just
Yep.
kind of who I am.
So, right. Decades later, the training wheels are coming off.
Amen.
We're ready to go.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
finding the time to
Thanks, Wayne.
join us and do this and share your amazing tools and resources. And I hope we get you a lot more traffic, and you guys come back and share with us any major updates that you have.
We'll be on.
Awesome. Fantastic, guys. Thank you. Wow, that's the kind of stuff that I like to share with you guys, not just out there regurgitating the headlines of the day. That's just makes me want to go and throw myself off of a bridge, never mind all of you guys. So trying to bring things that somebody somewhere can take and go, wow, that is the tool that I needed. Those are the people that I needed. That's the answer that I needed. And wow, what a library of answers and information that they've got there in that resource. Go take full advantage of that, guys. And I mean, there is so many different ways. This is going to become your resource, and it's only going to get bigger and better, more added to it. So yeah, I think Randy was right. The most sometimes the sun shines the brightest after the craziness, and after the craziness of getting this show up and running, this has been absolutely amazing. I'll go and I'll fix all of the notes. It was a make work project for me. I had a few extra hours to getting this out there, but I hope you guys all enjoyed this as much as I did. And again, Thursday, big week this week, and I'll do a quick rundown on this for 1 minute before I let everybody go. Thursday, we have got Natasha Gonick and Rick Abbott, former Edmonton Police Services members that have gone through the motions of the Freedom of Information and are blowing the whistle on it. They're bringing us their report, the PDF, and the analysis on Thursday, so you'll get it right from the horse's mouth per se. That's Thursday. Friday is Bankers, Bandits, Bullion, and Bucks with Bryce. When the conspiracy theories are coming true and you need to know what to do with your finances, bring your questions there. He is unfiltered and you'll get it real and raw there. And Saturday, you won't find this on social media. We're going to be doing this on our new platform, testing out some of the new wheels on lgm.news. So get a hold of us. I'll posting the how-to on that probably tomorrow. We'll get that sorted out. But we're going to be doing a watch party about a documentary that rocked me, like literally rocked me for days and days and days. I sent it around to my mental health community and a bunch of experts, and it was kind of the same thing. And this is going to be a very tough couple of hours as we dissect how how we're turning into this genocidal country. And it's people often wonder or compare, how did Germans become, what they did in the 1930s and 40s? Well, guys, we are going to address a whole load of that, so you guys can be armed with what to watch for and the bad stuff that they are bringing on to us. So that is on Saturday. Sunday, special roundtable. I'll bring up more about that later in the week. But that's all, folks, for tonight. Thank you all so much for taking the time to find us and join us here. And I'll play out with one of my favorite companies. Why? Because they don't believe in any of the climate scam or the communism. They fight for faith, family, and freedom. There is no carbon taxes. There is no extra GST, and the prices don't go up every 2 weeks. And they're taking billions of dollars away from BlackRock and the cabal and giving it back to us. So I love these guys, and we will see you guys all on Thursday. And if I'm a babbling idiot, I've earned it. Love you. Bye for now.